Alright class, so yesterday we spoke about language components and we touched base on figure of speech, but we got interrupted by the bell and we had to stop. So this morning when the machine called, I had to answer. So who can remember what did we say figure of speech is? Yes, we said figure of speech is a way we use words to describe something in a more interesting, creative or imaginative way. Because we don't always want to sound boring or lame, as Kemi would say, and we don't always want to say things as plain as it is, so we use figure of speech to make it more fun or dramatic. Another reason why we use figure of speech is to make writing and speech more colorful and more engaging. We also use figure of speech because we want the reader to imagine what you are saying or to picture what you are saying. Figure of speech can sometimes be funny, it can be emotional, and even poetic. That's why we use figure of speech. But for today's lesson, we will be looking at the 4 basic types of figure of speech, which is simile and not smile, as many of you guys might say, personification. We'll be looking at metaphors and hyperboles. Okay, so what is a simile? Is comparing things using the words like or is. And if teacher have to give an example, if I say Jason is as fast as a cheetah, or if teacher has to say Temi is as busy as a bee. Those are 2 examples of simile. Remember I said we're comparing things using the word is or like. The next figure of speech is a metaphor. And who can tell me what metaphors is? Now we're comparing things to things, but we're not using the words like or is. An example of this would be if teachers say time is a thief, or teachers say the snow is a white blanket. Now I literally compare 2 things without using the words like or is. The next type of figure of speech that we will be discussing today is personification. And you guys are familiar with this. I might say this is also one of your favorites. So what is personification? Personification is where we give human qualities to non-human things. For example, if teacher has to say the wind whispered through the trees. Another example would be if teacher says the silence spoke volumes, or the silence in the room spoke volumes. That is also another form of personification. And this, the last one, is Samantha's favorite one, hyperboles. What is hyperboles? Is when we exaggerate a little bit to make a point. Can someone tell me what is teacher's favorite hyperbole? Yes, I've told you a million times. That's correct. That's teacher's favorite hyperbole. Who can give me another example of a hyperbole? I'm starving. I can eat a horse right now. That's another example of a hyperbole. Okay. So what teacher did now is teacher explained to you the types of figure of speech that we get. Teacher gave examples of them. Okay class, so the activity that we will be doing is called the commonplace book. And now many of you guys are going to say, teacher, but we don't know what the commonplace book is. Don't worry, I will explain to you the purpose of a commonplace book and why teacher decided to do this. So we're going to do the commonplace book because this is a journal that we can use to collect data, knowledge or wisdom over time. I chose this activity because writing down these meaningful quotes or ideas or facts will help you guys to reflect on what you have learned or what you have heard. The commonplace books encourage you guys to review. Flipping back through the commonplace book will help you refresh your knowledge, and it will help you to learn what you have found meaningful. An important benefit of the commonplace book is also that over time, this book will become a personalized database of wisdom, insights, and learning from many sources. So at the end, at the back of your books, I want you guys to go to a clean page. Then I want you guys to divide the page into 4 sections, 4 blocks where we can put the types of figure of speech, and then we're gonna write the definition down of each type of figure of speech we mentioned, and then we're gonna write the example the teacher's gonna give you, and then you guys on your own have to put 2 more examples of each type of figure of speech. So just to show you guys what teacher mean, you are gonna take your book, it's gonna be like this. Then you're gonna divide the page into 4 sections. As you can see, teacher divided the page into 4 sections. So one block would be your simile, the one would be your metaphor, the other one would be your hyperbole, and the last one would be personification. Then you're gonna write down the definition as teacher write it on the board and the example the teacher gave, and then your responsibility is to make 2 examples of your own. At the end of the day, when you finish with this is how it's supposed to look. So there you can clearly see you have your simile, your metaphor, your personification, and your hyperbole with your definitions and examples.
Good day, learners. I'm teacher Shaldine. So now that we have seen what figures of speech are and how to use them, let's have a look at some poems. So the first poem we're going to have a look at is Dust of Snow. Let's read it together. The way a crow shook down on me, the dust of snow from a hemlock tree, has given my heart a change of mood, and saved some part of a day I rued. And it is written by Robert Frost. Isn't that quite suiting? I mean, it's about snow. The next poem we're going to have a look at is quite popular. You might recognize it from a nursery rhyme. Hey diddle diddle. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle. The cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with the spoon. So this poem doesn't really have an author. Nobody knows who the author is, but it was first published by J.W. Eliot. Right, so let's have a look at what figures of speech we found in this these 2 poems. So in the first poem, we saw a metaphor where they said dust of snow. Okay, is snow dust? No, it's not dust. All right, it represents small moments of joy. It's little moments, little dust of snow. So when you stand in the snow, you can feel little sprinkles on your face. All right. Personification, we also see in the first poem, has given my heart a change of mood. Can your heart get a change of mood? No, it can't. You get a change of mood, but your heart can't get a change of mood. So they're giving a living characteristic to a non-living thing. That is personification. All right. Next one I just put in here for fun. We see alliteration in the poem, where it says shook and snow. They both start with what? A consonant. Okay, so that makes it alliteration. In the second poem, we see something. We see a hyperbole. All right, the cow jumped over the moon. Can a cow jump over the moon? No, they can't jump over a moon. So that's over-exaggerating the situation completely. So then we call it a hyperbole. All right. So then I have a question for you. Did you see any similes in the poem? Remember, similes use as and like to compare something. No, we didn't see any similes in these 2 poems. Well done. Okay, now it's your turn. Let's have a look at these sentences, and then you need to tell me, is it a hyperbole, a metaphor, personification, or a simile. All right, let's do this. Okay, the thunder grumbled like an angry bear. What is that? There's one keyword that we need to look at, like. All right, so it is a simile. Then the flowers danced in the breeze. What is that? Can flowers dance? No, so it is personification. All right, next one is, I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. Isn't that a little bit over-exaggerating? Yeah, I mean, you can't be that hungry. Okay, so that is a hyperbole. Okay, my brother is a clown. What is that? That is a metaphor. Well done. Okay, now we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We're gonna have a group activity. So you guys need to choose a season. Either it's winter, spring, summer, or autumn, otherwise known as fall. You're gonna create 2 figures of speech about that season. Okay, so any figure of speech that we have done today, those 4, you're going to create your own figure of speech using one of the 4 seasons. Then we are going to share it with the class. We are going to vote the most creative example. What do you guys think? Sounds like fun, right? Okay, let's do this.
Good evening, learners. My name is Ms. Melanie Skordom. As we moved on to our group activity, I would just like to give an example so that you guys can have an idea of what you have to do. So the activity tells us that you have to pick one of the 4 seasons we have, and then you have to create your own figure of speech. Then when you guys created your own figure of speech, you must present it to the class. After that, we then gonna vote for the most creative figure of speech created. So the example that I have is, her laughter was the first warm breeze of spring, sweeping away doubt. So the season that I have used is spring, and the type of figure of speech in the sentence would be a metaphor. Why is the metaphor? Because it is a direct comparison of her laughter with the warm breeze of spring. Now, there we have to be very careful when we decide which type of figure of speech it is, because a simile and a metaphor is really close to each other. The difference is, in a simile, it's also a comparison, but we use the words like or as in the sentence. And for metaphor, it's a direct comparison, but we don't use the words like or as. So this sentence is then a metaphor. Her laughter was the first warm breeze of spring, sweeping away doubt. That is my example to you guys. So I will give you time now that you can discuss in your groups your season that you're gonna pick, and then you must come to the front and present your figure of speech that you've created. Thank you guys, and I just want to say congratulations to the team that got the most votes for their creative figure of speech. All of you got great ideas, and now we're just gonna move on by looking at other examples on how we can teach figure of speech in different ways. Figure of speech is a creative way of speaking, as we said in the beginning. It's a creative way of speaking to each other. It's a creative way of expressing things to each other. But We have also a lot of creative ways to teach it to each other. So if we look at these pictures, here is one example that we also can teach figure of speech by pictures, visual arts. Here we have a picture of a cheetah and a picture of a male person running, athletes. Now, the two pictures are next to each other. So, what does it tell us? It already tells us that these two pictures are being compared to each other. But now, we have to get our sentence. What does this picture tell us? When we look at pictures or images, there is always a story behind a picture. For example, in these pictures, if we look at it, the cheetah and the male person running, both of them are busy running in the pictures. But as we know, a cheetah is one of the most fastest animals in our nature. So we know that the cheetah is running very fast. Now, we know that the cheetah is running very fast, so we're looking now at the other picture of the male person running, and then he's also running. So what does this tell us? Something is being compared by them running. And the sentence that I have used for this pictures that is being compared is, he is running as fast as a cheetah. That is the sentence. It's a creative way of saying that he's actually running very fast, but we know he would never be able to run as fast as a cheetah. So that is the comparison, but there's a special word in those sentences that tell us which type of figure of speech it is. We get two figure of speech that is being compared, that also both of them are being compared, but we have one that we always have to listen for two types of words in the sentence, and we get one word in that sentence that tells us exactly which type of figure of speech it is. So when we listen to the sentence again, he ran as fast as a cheetah. So the word as already tells us that this is a simile. Or we can just say, he runs like a cheetah. It would also be a simile. But when we say, he is a cheetah, then it's a metaphor because it's a direct comparison. So that is one example of how we can also teach figure of speech by using images. Then we're going to look at the other way of also teaching figure of speech by using audio. I'm going to play the audio, and then after the audio, I'm gonna explain to you how we use audio also to teach figure of speech. Now here's the audio. We're just gonna quickly listen to it, and then I'm going to explain to you how we can teach figure of speech through listening. So we can use an audio to use it as a listening comprehension, also to identify our figure of speech. Now this audio that I'm going to play identifies the 4 figure of speeches that we did in our lesson. So we're going to listen to the audio now, and then afterwards I'm going to explain to you what sentences we get our 4 figure of speeches.
Every night, little Mia sat by her window, staring at the sky. She loved the stars, but there was one that twinkled like a shy child, far away from the others. It flickered, whispering through the darkness, as if longing to be noticed. The sky is a giant ocean, Mia murmured, and that star is a lonely boat drifting by itself. The wind sighed through the trees, carrying her quiet words upward, sending them to the star like a gentle messenger. The leaves waved excitedly, rustling like they had secrets to share. Mia closed her eyes and made a wish. I hope the lonely star finds a friend, she whispered, her words softer than a butterfly's wing. And then, as if the universe had heard her, another star appeared beside the lonely one, glowing brighter than before. Mia grinned. Even the loneliest star can find a friend. She yawned, curling up under her blanket, while the stars watched over her like silent guardians, twinkling their quiet goodnight.
Great. So we have listened to the audio, and now we have to identify the figure of speech that we have heard that is being identified in this audio. This is another creative way to teach figure of speech, to know that the students will have to listen to answer the questions. So in the story, we get our 4 figure of speeches that we went through in this lesson. So our first figure of speech is a simile. And the simile that we got in this audio was twinkled like a shy child. Remember, the word like and as are always used in words, and then we know that it is a simile. So in this word, in the sentence, like, twinkled like a shy child. So then we know it definitely is a simile. Then we get our metaphor. Our metaphor in the story is the sky is a giant ocean. It is a direct comparison. The sky is being compared directly to a giant ocean. So we know there's a comparison that's taking place, then we know it's a metaphor. Then we get the personification. Our personification in this audio was the leaves waved excitedly. So what did we say? What is a personification? Personification is when you give a non-living thing a living characteristic, or a non-human thing a human characteristic. So we know that leaves is a non-living thing. It's a non-human thing. But we gave them the excitement. It's a feeling. We gave them a feeling. So the leaves waved excitedly. Then our hyperbole in the story was the stars twinkled their quiet night. It's exaggerating because we know that stars can twinkle. So that is another way of teaching our figure of speech. There's a lot of other different ways, but those 2 types that I've just explained to you, the one with the images and the audio, for me is I will choose it over and over to teach figure of speech, because I know children, learners are more interested in pictures, things that they see and things that they hear. They can remember more things when they see it and when they hear it. So for me, is it important personally? I feel that those 2 ways of teaching should always be in a way in your lessons, because that is when my learners will give the most attention. And that is our lesson. Thank you.